We are back here on Shattered Darkness. This is episode number 64. I'm Mitch Benner, your host, joined by Cash, my co-host. And today we have a good friend of ours, Kyle Higgins, and we'll introduce him here in a second and get into his story. But just a few housekeeping items. One, I just want to start by plugging the Love Shack mocktail bar, 120 East 4th Street. That's where we record. Han and their team here are doing some amazing things with sobriety and really just creating a safe place. So great mocktails, great food, and it's a huge space. So if you got events and things like that you want to host, this would be a great space to do that. So the Love Shack Mocktail Bar, 120 East 4th Street. I also want to take a quick minute to plug Beyond the Buzz. This is our business networking group that we've started that's really more around sobriety and supporting each other in life, business, and obviously addiction and things like that. So we've been meeting for probably around a year, and it is a really cool group. There's some real life happening inside that group and real support, and people's businesses are growing, which is awesome. The next one is May 22nd at 9:30. At the Love Shack Mocktail Bar on 4th Street. So with that, I want to take a little time to introduce our guest, Kyle Higgins. How are you today, my friend?
I'm great, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, dude. We just want to say thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your time, and we're super excited to hear your story. So with that, dude, we're going to get into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so why don't you start with a little bit of your background? Where are you from? Who are you?
Man, it's just so much. My name's Kyle Higgins. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri, quickly moved to Louisiana, and ended up in Colorado at the age of 4. My parents were high school sweethearts from El Dorado, Kansas. It's a smaller town, almost a farming community in Kansas. I was born with, I wouldn't say a silver spoon, because my dad was very blue collar and worked very hard to get to where he made it, but I couldn't have asked for anything more. I had a loving family. I had a younger brother, a younger sister. My grandparents were my heroes on both sides. Just all the support I could have imagined growing up with sports. I was very active in the outdoors. I really was very, very fortunate in the environment that I grew up in.
I feel you on that one, man.
And where are you at today? I'm sorry. What's going on today? Just briefly, what are you?
Today, I am the owner of the Dirt Road to Recovery Sober Living Homes. We're a male and female sober living home or transitional living home. I also developed a nonprofit called Never Lost Nonprofit Recovery Services. We got peer support, we got groups, we got one-on-one coaching, really anything and everything that our clients need to reach success, as also with financial support. We provide financial support, people who need licenses or whatever it is to get back on their show.
And so we're going to dive deep into that. So listener, if you're in that portion, stay tuned. That's all here in Northern Colorado.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Correct.
Nice, man. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm excited to learn more about that. It's where I met you. Everybody I talked to about you, everybody in my circle of influence was like, you got to meet Kyle Higgins. You got to meet Kyle Higgins. And so when I met you, you were larger than life already. So I'm glad to be sitting across from you. But man, let's start go back to those early years. When did you start dabbling and destruction? Right.
It was after a rodeo accident. I went to the University of Wyoming on a rodeo scholarship. And I guess I should backtrack. And even into high school, I was completely sober. I was very against drugs and alcohol. I'm usually egotistical. I hated, and hate is a strong word, but it's probably very true. I wanted nothing to do with drug addicts. I wanted nothing to do with the homeless population. I just assumed blow them up, to be honest. I thought they were worthless.
Was that just like a perception you grew up with, or?
Yeah, was it given to you?
It was almost like an entitlement, not because of the way I was raised, but the environment I grew up in. I grew up in Highlands Ranch, Colorado. Yeah. There's a lot of very successful people there. The parents and kids in my high school were very successful. Just a lot of
the environment.
Exactly.
Totally did.
And it was hard, and it wasn't hard, but that was what I became a product of, was a product. And I I was homecoming king. I was prom king. I was captain of the football team. I was a 4-sport athlete. I was football, baseball, rodeo, and rugby. I never had problems with a girlfriend, just things came very easy to me growing up. So the indigent population, the drug addicts, even people addicted to cigarettes, literally had no time for, didn't even want to talk to them. Just a judgment that was, egotistical.
Totally. That's interesting.
So I got to the University of Wyoming on a rodeo scholarship. I was there for 3 years up until I got hurt real bad on a bull named Tommy Boy. I got caught up. My hand got caught in the rope and got tossed around a little bit. Ended up going to a doctor who referred me to a pain specialist.
It's like, dude, that's literally, you said rodeo accident. I can tell where this is going.
That's exactly right. And I don't regret the rodeo. It was a great time, but it led to some darkness that I'm also grateful for. So anyway, I got to this pain specialist and he immediately prescribed me 330 milligram oxys, or Roxys is what they call them, a month, and 210 milligram Valium, with an option of a refill if I wanted it, and told me to take them as prescribed. And never really being drunk in my life, never being high, never experimenting with really anything.
That probably got into that whole deal.
It did. It did very quickly. But I took them as prescribed. I never play victim to things anymore because of what I've learned in recovery, so I don't blame the doctor. Looking back on it, I should have looked into the medication I was taking, recently. Hey, what's Oxycontin?
But you're a kid, man. You're riding bulls. So as a bull rider, there's a lot of caution.
Let's get back on the bull, right?
Yeah. Give me some painkillers, get me back. But I had no idea the dangers were. I didn't know they were addictive. I didn't even know what addiction was. Besides, I hated the people who were involved in it. And that's as far as my knowledge went.
So start taking those, and I'm assuming that road went downhill pretty quick.
Very quickly. At first, I was taking them as prescribed, which very quickly developed a dependency. Taking 10, 30 milligram oxys a day, in the beginning, I was puking everywhere, but I'm thinking, man, I need to keep taking these. The doctor said. But it led to a very dark spot. At the time, I was with a girlfriend at the time. We broke up. When we broke up, I was hanging out with a guy, and he's like, hey, man, have you ever snorted your Oxycontin? And I was like, oh, he's like, give it a shot. So I did, and then immediately I'm going through my prescription and my medication way faster than I should, and I'm running out, 10, 15 days earlier than I need, and it's kind of like, what do you do? So I would start going to the streets trying to buy Oxycontin. At the time, it was $80, $90 a pill for one 80 milligram Oxycontin.
I remember that.
It was ridiculous. So, you're trying your best to just maintain this addiction, and for me it was like I had never been addicted.
I was gonna ask, did you realize that you were in active addiction?
I realized that something was wrong because when I didn't take my medication, it didn't feel right. I didn't know it was withdrawal. I really didn't put the two together, but I just knew that if I took that medication, I wouldn't feel like I did when I didn't, and during this, actually right in the very beginning of when things kind of started to get tough, I actually got asked to be on the reality TV show The Bachelorette in 2000.
No shit.
That's crazy, isn't it?
What the fuck, dude?
Real quick, I want to stop. We'll go backwards. Did anything go in your head when you started it? Like at the moment when you decided to start it, was there not a red flag that says, hey, this is a different direction? Or is it just like a friend like, yeah, hell yeah, why not, dude?
No, it wasn't. It really was exactly what you said. It was just kind of
like more effective and
hits you harder, hits you faster, makes you feel a little bit better. Like, this is easier. Like, never once did I think like, this is abusing you.
Right.
Yeah,
this is addiction. This is a drug.
Well, and then not to smash too hard on and bash too hard on, but you're operating under doctor's orders.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so you're following the rules.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So I could see how there's a high level of confusion in all of that.
There was, and especially being the family I come from, no drugs, no alcohol, no even tobaccos, nicotine, smoking, nothing. So I was very uneducated on everything, but all of a sudden I'm snorting Oxycontin before I even smoked pot.
Okay, so you're
Can we go back to the Bachelor?
I'm gonna say that's right ahead, dude. Yeah. So you got the invitation to be on the Bachelorette, dude.
I did, yeah. I made it through all the casting calls and all the interviews. They flew 50 guys out to LA. I was one of the 25 that made it.
What year was this?
I think it was season 6 with Ali Fedikowski. I want to say it aired 2009.
Okay, so crazy about that. Think about that. I was in my sober living recovery, and I think it was re-entry at the season that your season was on, and I would go to my wife's parents' house, and we would watch The Bachelorette, like at the time that you're on. So I'm almost positive, I don't remember any of it, right? But when I was coming out, I think you were on The Bachelorette. That's a truth.
So you actually ended up on the show?
Yeah, I got on the show, made it on TV and everything. I never got a rose, but for some reason they called me back for the Men Tell All episode. So I was on 2 episodes, and
that's awesome, bro.
It was quite the experience.
I bet.
My hair was long. I don't have tattoos, so if anybody happens to Google me, they'd be like,
I did that. That's the first time we talked. I was like, this is a different guy. Yeah. Keep going.
Cool.
So you come off The Bachelorette, you're in Hollywood. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, it was trying to maintain the Hollywood lifestyle. And actually, when I was going out to record for The Bachelorette, there's a pill called Suboxone. It keeps you from going through withdrawal. So I managed to get a hold of a bunch of 2 milligram Suboxone at the time. They were like these little teeny tiny orange pills, and you put them under your tongue. They weren't even strips. And I tucked about 50 of them in this little tiny balloon. And on the flight out to LA to record for The Bachelorette, I hid it under my tongue going through security. And I was like, if they check under, hey, so your mouth, I just swallow it and, dig it out of my shit at the hotel room.
Takes what it takes.
That takes what it takes. But I didn't want to be going through withdrawal during recording and filming and stuff. So I hustled the Suboxone out to LA and never received a rose. I was out there for a couple of weeks filming, came back and went to pick up my prescription, and the DEA was at my doctor's office. Full guard, fully automatic weapons, pistols, boots, helmets, visors, all in blacked out SUVs, and my doctor was up against the wall in handcuffs, and a DEA agent in his full guard comes up to me with his AR and handed me my prescription and said, "This will be the last prescription you receive from this doctor."
Holy shit.
And I'll never forget that. So
that's unbelievable.
I went and filled that prescription. I sold it for $1,500, I remember, and then
you sold it?
I went and sold that prescription.
Why?
Because I had met a guy. So after I got off The Bachelorette, originally the interview I talked about where there was 50 guys that went out, I got very sick at that interview because I went through withdrawal and I didn't know what withdrawal was. So when I got back, this guy I had hired, I was working IT for a Quest Cyber Center at the time. It's since been bought out by CenturyLink, but I was a site manager, and I had just hired this kid, and he was the one who told me, like, hey man, you're going through withdrawal. You're physically, chemically addicted to Oxycontin, and if you don't take them, you're gonna feel like shit going out to film for this. So that's why I brought those Suboxone back.
Gotcha.
When I got back from filming there, I told the kid that my doctor had been arrested, that I was kind of shit out of luck, and he was like, well, have you ever tried heroin? And I was like, almost punched him in the face, but I didn't know, because I didn't know what heroin was.
You didn't know you were on heroin, dude?
I didn't know. Had no idea that Oxycontin.
That's the closest thing to heroin is Oxycontin.
I didn't even know that until I watched that Netflix show.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah.
Dope Sick?
Yeah.
I did the same
no,
thing,
it was
man.
the one with, it was like where they busted, it's like the guy that created Oxycontin, and he's trying to get it pushed through FDA approval.
It was either Dope Sick or...
I can't remember the name of it.
Was it Michael Keaton? Was he the head actor?
No, it was Matthew Broderick was the main bad guy.
There is the, what is that show? I think I know what you're
Yeah, anyways.
It's the same thing. I did I did the same thing with Adderall and meth, and I did the same thing with heroin and oxys.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend whose mom had cancer, and she was dying, and he had an abundance, and he would just, and I remember we were getting them at like $7-8 a pill, and this is probably not great content, but able to sell them for like 80, but I couldn't sell them, dude, because I was like, I got
take them.
Do you have? Right. Anyways, so this guy, you about to punch him in the face.
Heroin.
Yeah, so he's like, and I was about to punch him in the face, and he's like, whoa, man, it's literally the exact same thing as your Oxycontin. Like, just take it. Yeah, he's like, I promise you'll be able to talk again, you'll be able to work again, you get rid of your diarrhea, your watery eyes, your vomiting, like you just go back to normal. And so he loaded it in this marijuana bowl, and I took a hit, and he was freaking right. Just
Same thing.
right back to normal. I could talk, I could eat, I could walk, I could work. I was normal.
That's crazy.
Normal.
Heroin gets you back to normal.
Took me back to normal.
Keep going. I'm sorry.
So I started smoking heroin. Eventually, Quest got bought out by CenturyLink. We lost our jobs. I went to go work for a carpet cleaning company where you don't work with the best individuals, and was telling the kid about, pretty much what I just told you guys. And he's like, hey, man, have you ever tried to shoot heroin? And I was like, never tried. He's like,
Spinners, dude.
Right, I was. Thank you. So we went to downtown Denver. We picked up I can't remember how much. It wasn't much at all, but he put like a pin needle size of heroin in the spoon, mixed it up, put it in the syringe, and shot me up.
Yeah.
And it was just, pure bliss. It just brought me right to where I felt very, very comfortable.
Comfortably numb, dude.
It's comfortably numb.
That's what I think of. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And from there, it really snowballed, from injecting heroin. I met this guy downtown one time, not around good crowds. He's like, hey, man, have you ever injected cocaine? Put cocaine with your heroin, a speedball. I was like, no, and I'll never forget him saying this. He goes, bro, put the cocaine in the heroin, put it in your arm, pick up the phone, call me. His exact words. So I was meeting with my heroin dealer, and I just asked, I was like, hey, do you happen to have any cocaine on you? And he said, I do. So I went home and I mixed the cocaine with the heroin, and then that was when things really started to snowball. Injecting cocaine and heroin, your habit is just relentless. I mean, you get into the deepest and darkest places just trying to stay comfortable and keep from going through the hell your brain takes you through. I mean, it literally feels like your brain thinks you're dying without the substance. And
you're functioning. You have a job?
Nope, don't have a job, man. At this time, I can't hold a job.
Yeah.
I'm very, very sick. But still, because of where I came from, my athletic ability, my build, I was always able to get whatever I wanted. I could rob drug dealers. I was very good at it. I got involved with the motorcycle club. We did some things to get drugs that just took me to some places I never thought I would see. It got to the point where I was stealing cell phones and putting tracking devices on them, I could sell a cell phone, an iPhone or a Droid, for 3 grams of cocaine and 3 grams of heroin. And I would take that 3 grams of cocaine and heroin, and I would follow the tracker on the cell phone with the drug dealer and sit outside of his house and shoot up for however long it took to pick up his routine, what he did in the mornings, when he left, when he got home. And then I would call a buddy or do it by myself. I had a little sawed-off shotgun, and we would kick down the door, and we would take what we could from these drug dealers. And there was several doors where I kicked down that the planning didn't go.
Sure.
As, families are there, kids are in there, and I found myself using kids and with my weapons to get what I needed from their father. And it took me to a hell I never thought I would see. And I was just like, but you come out with a bunch of Air Force Ones, some heroin, some cocaine, $3,000, you come out with a lot, you hit the jackpot, but you see the look in this kid's eyes when he's got a shotgun barrel pointed at his face, and his dad's doing whatever it takes to keep his son alive. Honestly, I just wished his dad would pull aside and find a hidden gun and blow my head off. That's what I was wishing the whole, because I would have never pulled the trigger. I would have never hurt a kid or even the drug. I mean, there's times we got dirty with drug dealers, but in front of kids, it was never me. So it just got to a point where I was dying. I was on probation in 5 different counties in 2 different states. I was homeless. I had completely lost my entire family. My grandfather, my father, who I was just very, very close with younger, I had accumulated like 30 weapons because I loved the outdoors, hunting, My grandpa handed me down like 6. My dad bought me several. I purchased several. I sold all 30 of those to the pawn shop several times. My dad would buy them back, and then I would sell them again. So I had just lost literally everything. I didn't have my brother, my sister, my mom, my grandparent. Nobody had. I had nothing. I was. My mom wouldn't even call my phone.
So they knew. I mean, everybody. There was no hiding it. You're a derelict, and there's no hope for Kyle.
Yeah, eventually, it's when I started, it was just too hard to hide. And my family, coming from where they were at, they didn't understand it. They didn't know what to do to help. Like, they didn't even know what heroin was. I didn't know what heroin was. And then being Kyle, hey, you're on the Bachelorette, you're captain of the football team, you're homecoming, just all these things that I had accomplished. Why can't you stop this? You can stop this. Okay, so I'd get all motivated. Like, I can stop this. I can do it on my own.
Yeah.
So there were so many times I would just forcefully try to quit cold turkey at my parents' house, just sitting in the basement. And I would sometimes last a week, but I could never, ever, ever do it. And it kills your ego, because
it's like every time it cuts in half. Yeah.
You finally have met an opponent that you can't beat.
Yeah.
The first opponent in life I could not beat, no matter what I tried, there was just nothing there. It was everything was gone. And I didn't know what to do, because at the time, state insurance or Medicaid didn't pay for mental health disorder or substance abuse. They would barely even pay for detox. So I was pretty much stuck on the streets. My parents didn't have the money to send me to rehab. I didn't know where to go or what to do.
You're not in the motorcycle gang anymore?
No. I was pretty much booted out of. I was never a member. I was kind of just involved with the kind of, I guess you'd call it a hang around, if you want, if you will. But I I wasn't allowed to be around anybody. I was too sick to even function as a human being. I was 40, 50 pounds lighter than I normally was. I was living on the streets, just begging for food and warmth and just trying to make it. So eventually I found Harvest Farm, which is a program up in Wellington, Colorado.
How'd you find that?
My sister had actually mentioned to me like 3 years prior, and was like, because she's a nurse, she's like, you need to go to this program. You're a drug. I didn't even think I was a drug addict. I'm like, I'm not a drug addict. I'm literally shooting up cocaine and heroin and thinking I'm just a victim of trying to maintain,
So that's on this side, when you say it out loud, it's like, that's freaking crazy.
Right.
But
to think I wasn't.
That's what we tell ourselves. Like, I'm just normal guy trying to get by, trying to get back to normal.
Exactly.
Which is speedballing. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It was. I wasn't a drug addict. I was nothing like those guys that I hated in high school. I wasn't a homeless. I was none of that.
This is after a hidden drug addict. Like
this is my rock bottom, and I'm still thinking I'm not a drug. I'm just like, I'm still the good guy who's just trying to get back on top of things. That's all I thought. So eventually, I found Harvest. My sister had mentioned Harvest Farm 3 years prior, but it was a year-long program at the time. And I'm like, I'm not going to waste a year of my life. That is crazy. I'm not going to go to a program for a full year. I don't need that.
I'm not going to waste a year of my life.
Exactly.
How old are you now?
Right, I already wasted. Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, how old are you at this point?
So I was, when she mentioned that program, when I first started using, I was probably 24, 25.
And at this age, when you go in here?
29.
So you've wasted the last 4 or 5 years.
5, maybe even 6.
Yeah. So you're not going to waste one more.
Yeah, right. No, I'm not going to waste it. I'm not going to waste another year of my life.
I mean, it's so easy to identify with, though.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing so many important things. I can't put these things aside.
I got so many needles to put in my arm. How much heroin to do? I can't go waste a year of my life.
So what's the pin of the grenade, man? Like, tell us. What does that look like?
It was that rock bottom, knowing where I came from and who I was and the lifestyle that I once lived that I really, truly did love. I wanted to kind of get back to that. At the time, I wanted to get back to that. Now I would never want to go back to the.
But it was enough of a life to say that was better than what I got now. Like it's enough to worth chasing.
Yeah. Yes, and I'm very grateful because I know a lot of people don't do that. They're just born into indigent or poverty stricken, and they just never have that to go back to. So I've always been grateful that I had that original family foundation that I at least knew about that I could hopefully get back to, and I wanted to. I wanted to get back to having parents and brothers and sisters and loving grandparents and fishing and being outdoors and
Christmas morning, dude.
Christmas morning,
dude.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
They just something I wanted very badly. So I found a program, Harvest Farm. They required you to call and check in every Wednesday. And I remember the 6th week I called to check in. How I remembered to call in every Wednesday is by the grace of God, because I was so high and so sick, but I would call in 12 o'clock every Wednesday. And I remember I called in and a guy named Rob Wolf, Rob Wolf answered. And he said, "We have a bed for you." And I remember I hit my knees and I just started bawling, because I knew that if somebody was going to give me a chance, I would live, you know? So I showed up to the program high as shit. I had court the day I showed up to go to Harvest Farm. I went to court that day and I went and got a bunch of heroin and cocaine. And I shot up right before I got into court with the papers that said I was accepted to Harvest Farm, a year-long program. So the judge calls me up. Meanwhile, I'm sitting in the bench, my flip phone. I get a text message from the only guy I ever used or shared a needle with saying he's got Hep C and you need to go get checked. So I get that message.
You're in the courtroom.
In the courtroom. I get that text, close my phone, look up, judge calls me. I walk up to the judge just hoping and praying I'm not going to go to prison, because I had been involved in drug court on the run for 3.5 years, and it finally caught up to me and they were getting ready to send me away because of all the charges I copped when I was on drug court. So I remember I walked up to him and I showed him the paper that I had been accepted into Harvest Farm, and they were actually like, "Congratulations, we're going to let you go. And if you graduate that program, since it's a year long, we'll just completely take you off all papers."
That's crazy.
Exactly.
Grace
right.
of God. And so let me back up. I know you're a spiritual person, and we're going to dive into that a lot, I feel like, today. Where was God in this moment? Did you feel like
He was non-existent. I was baptized Catholic when I was younger. I was involved with the Catholic or Christian community. I hosted Fellowship of Christian Athletes at my house. I did prayer groups on Fridays.
Yeah.
Me and the athletes would walk around the track and just say prayers for one another on Fridays before school. Like, I thought I had a spiritual foundation with a higher power and was connected to him. When all these things when those things happened with the Cardinals and the priests, you know, back in the day, it was very sad for me and my family, because it kind of like, you know, like there's people you love and trust, but so I got away.
in the courtroom, you're not thinking, "Thank you, God, for this bed." You're really just like, "Thanks, Judge."
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So keep going.
To me. So I got to this program, and it was a Christian program, where they required you to go to church every Sunday. So I tried to get back involved with the Catholic community for 3 months. I went back to the Catholic Church and just never really felt accepted by anybody. Come here.
You shouldn't find home, right?
It wasn't. It didn't feel like home. So I went on this church search. I went to some non-denominational Christian churches. I went to Lutherans. Because we're required to go to church, I just really was trying everything in every community just to find somebody who would just give me a hug.
You were trying.
I was trying to find something that would.
So you came into this program thinking, "Okay, I'm going to give it my all."
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So this wasn't that's cool.
They were the only people that would give me a chance. Like I said, we didn't have the money for rehab. This was a state program. It was free. It was a Christ Center program, and my dog is just ruining everything.
So there's a dog today.
She comes into the story later. She kind of saved me, but
okay. So
we'll
you're in Harvest Farms. You're all the way in.
Yes.
You're dipping your toe back into this God idea.
Yes, trying to find a family through, I guess you could say, religion, maybe some type of religion. Never really found one until the very end. There was this Lutheran church, and they asked me to share my testimony. So I got up in front of this Lutheran church. I shared my testimony. Every single member of the church wrote me a letter, handwritten letter afterwards.
Wow.
So I was like, these are my people. Like, so I found a spot. They were great. And I remember Pastor Mark, he was great. He accepted me. It was a church full of 80-year-old people, maybe like 20 or 30 members, all 80.
Gotta love it, dude.
Well, it was-
Old people are the best.
It was, man.
Yes.
And all the other guys from the program, I know they're going to these non-denominational Christian churches where all the college girls go. And here I am with like these 20 people.
Yeah, just rock banging on Sunday morning. You're here with the
You guys are like actually singing out of hymnals and shit. Yeah, dude, I love
Yeah,
it.
we're doing the Lutheran thing, which was pretty close to Catholic. I didn't know, but it was pretty similar to Catholic. So I finally found a place. I ended up graduating the program after 13 months and 2 weeks while I was there. Decided I want to be a bodybuilder. So I got in the gym every single day, started bodybuilding, got out, graduated the program, started working for an electric company, building the new Colorado State University football stadium from the ground up, installing security. And then one morning, I get a text message from a girl who I met from Tinder, and I spent one morning with her. When I met her on Tinder, she immediately sent me pictures of herself in lingerie like that night. I mean, Tinder, right?
Yeah,
right.
So I just, being the in recovery at the time, a little bit of a weaker man, I said, hey, you should wear that on our date tomorrow. And kind of just joking that tomorrow was Friday and I worked 4/10, so I had Friday off. But the rules were you had to be off the premises of the farm by 8 a.m. or you had to work the farm. So I was like, I got to be at your house early to pick you up. So show up to this girl's house early. She's in all looks great, all this makeup, and then like sweatpants and a sweatshirt. She gets in my truck. We pull out of the parking lot, or out of her house. She's like, pull over right here. Hadn't been in the car for 5 seconds, and it was a Mormon church parking lot, and we parked right next to the shed. Thanks. She took off her sweatshirt and her sweatpants, and there was that lingerie. And things happened. After things happened, she asked me to go to the liquor store because she needed to pick up alcohol for her family. Well, when she came out, she had a bunch of bottle of alcohol and I don't know, like probably 20 shooters, and then took a couple. And later not even a few, I was like, hey, I'm in a recovery program, actually. Like, alcohol's not really my thing. It doesn't bother me, but I just shouldn't be around this right now. So that was the last time I ever saw her. 9 months later, I get a text message that says, hey, it's Megan. I've had a big life change and I would like to talk to you, please. And I thought, because I started developing a voice on social media, like people kind of started following because I'd been on the Bachelorette, I'd been through this addiction, and now I was okay and trying to help people out. So I thought she had reached out to me wanting some help with her alcohol. But I called her when I got out of work. She didn't answer, but she wrote me a text back that said, hey, my life changes. I had a child. Her name's Aubrey. She's 10 days old and she's yours. And I remember I wasn't afraid or scared. I was like very excited. I was like, I got a kid. I said, can I have a picture? So she sends me a picture. Definitely mine. Like,
Yeah,
Dude, there's something about that first kid, bro. The first thing the doctor said to me, like, that's definitely your kid.
yeah. No question about it. But she even paid for the blood test the next day, got it, and turned out, yeah, it was mine. So because of that alcohol problem she suffered with, I immediately became a full-time single father. She just was not healthy, and
crazy. How much experience with kids have you had?
didn't know what.
So we're talking like Monday morning rolls around, Tuesday you get a text, Friday you're a full-time dad?
Tuesday I get a text, Tuesday night I'm a full-time
Dude, that's
dad.
fucking
Wednesday
wild.
I'm meeting her. She came to I got a picture, but she came to my softball game, and I got a picture of me and my softball holding her at 10, 11 days old for the first time. And I remember her mother even being like, hey, you're rocking her, because I didn't I didn't get a chance to read the baby books. I didn't know the kid was I had no.
Aubrey's mother.
You're literally like holding.
And she said to me that she didn't know she was pregnant. All of a sudden, stomach cramps and issues, and then the baby popped out. And that's why she never told me. Now, whether that's true or not doesn't matter. It's just, I got a beautiful little girl, but all of a sudden, like, she's all mine. And she's 10 days old. I don't even know I don't know what to buy them. I don't know what kind of diapers to buy. I don't know, like, how to hold a baby. I don't know what time they go to bed. I don't know what time they wake up. I know What do you put on them when they have a diaper rash? What do you eat? What time of day do you feed them? I knew nothing, absolutely nothing.
A different language.
And on top of that, like, I'm a struggling, recovering addict just out of a program. I can hardly even take care of myself. I'm living with 2 college kids or out of college kids in a little room in Fort Collins, Colorado. Like, where am I going to put this kid? Like, just so many things fell on me at once. So immediately I had to figure shit out very quickly for this little girl because I was all she had. So I contacted one of the guys from the motorcycle club I was riding in, and he had an open basement. So we moved into the basement of a guy who rides with a very prevalent motorcycle club.
Safe.
Lots of guys upstairs cleaning their weapons and sharpening their knives with girls that are paid. And I would walk up to parties and Aubrey would be sleeping downstairs, and dancers, you know.
And you're sober.
And I'm sober, yes. Still sober, maintaining sobriety, but hanging out with the motorcycle guys again. It was just but at the time I was just focusing on being a father and what I needed for us to survive. I graduated the farm. So I got there January 5th, 2016. I graduated February 17th, 2017. So I was there for 13 months and 2 weeks. This was 4 months later. So I was just a year and a half sober in 2017. So we're now, 9 years later. This is 9 years ago. After the motorcycle, or say his name, after living in the club member's basement, I had met a girl, and actually she was at my graduation when I graduated the farm. She was quite a bit older than I was. I think 7 or 8 years older than I was, and she had a kid. She had 2 kids. She had a nice place right above Horsetooth Reservoir in Fort Collins. She was divorced, and she really did help. She's like, okay, well, you got this. She showed me how to change a diaper.
She was a mom.
She really was.
Yeah.
She was. And in the beginning, I tried to co-parent with Aubrey's mother. It was just difficult. It was sad to see what she was going through because I felt her pain.
Yeah.
But it was like I couldn't have this kid. And I tried to explain it to her so many times, like why you can't have this kid right now. But please, when you get, and now things are okay. But at the time, it was just like terrifying, like I'm trying to protect this kid. I'm trying to live in the basement of a motorcycle gang. I'm trying to keep myself sober. I'm trying to keep myself and her safe. I'm trying to develop some sort of foundation so she has a chance.
Dude, all the while learning how to take care of a child.
That's the clip here. I'm trying.
Yes.
So I agree. And honestly, so to the listener, we're going to cut the story there. We're going to stop there because Kyle's story, dude, I can relate to so many aspects of your story, especially the background piece of coming from that, and I struggled with different things in different ways, but dude, your story and your testimony is so powerful. Like seriously.
It's for a reason.
Absolutely, man. And you are answering that call in a crazy way. And to our listener, tune in for Kyle's next episode, which will be probably a couple weeks from now. But we're going to start to go into his entire redemptive process and basically how he was able to, take his pain and turn it into purpose.
I mean, Kyle, I'm really begging you got to come back. The things that Kyle is doing today, the things that Kyle is involved with or are involved with, it's incredible. Yeah. He's got his hands in so many different places. And realistically, if you're listening to you need help, this is the kind of guy who's making big waves in the recovery. The northern Colorado is really, all of Colorado eventually probably. So we're going to dig into what that looks like. So if you need help now, obviously reach out to us. Get you plugged in with Kyle or some of the sober houses. But if you're willing to wait, we'll be back in a couple weeks.
So. And thank you so much for your time, dude. Your vulnerability is unbelievable. So
I'm very grateful to be here.
To our guests, to our listeners, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. We hope you're finding value in it. We love the comments that you guys are leaving. Good, bad, ugly, man. We're here for all of it. So bring it on. Let's go. We want to have conversations, and we just want to help people, and really drive people towards their own personal purpose. So we love you guys. You're awesome, and we will see you guys in 1 week.